Good day and mabuhay, everyone. So we are the group A. So today we're going to tackle about the universal values, the Ifugao, the Negritos, and Muslim and morals in the southern Philippines. So first, what is value? Value is a quality that wins people, events, or situations. So what is universal? Universal is an adjective that is related to what belongs or which relates to the universe. So, what is universal value? Universal value are formed by applying behavioral standards that are necessary to live in a harmonious and peaceful society. What is cultural relativism? It is the principle that an individual's beliefs and practices should be understood within the context of their own culture, rather than being judged against the standards of another culture. So, for example, eating habits. So, eating habits, just like um, in other country, it is normal for them to eat dogs. But here in Philippines, hindi siya normal sa aton. Second one is wearing hijab or veils. Third one is arranged marriage.
Philosophers and religious thinkers, Plato, spoke of temperance, courage, and wisdom as virtues that exist on the physical world. Jesus Christ emphasized love, which manifests through patience, kindness, and forgiveness and compassion. Confucius taught righteousness, human-heartedness, and filial piety. Philosophical perspectives differ. Plato believed these values exist beyond the material world. Aristotle argued that they are found in individuals as essential traits. And lastly, St. Thomas Aquinas believed universal exists within individuals abstracted from shared human characteristics. Example, the concept of a human being is defined as rational, sentient, living body features that distinguish us from stones, non-living, plants, non-sentient, and animals, non-rational. According to philosopher Van Person, universal are logical structures that underlie and make sense of the material world. They are immaterial, unchanging, and beyond time and space. Secondly, universal values like honesty, respect for life, and love are foundational to peaceful societies. They are values we would wish to be shared by all wishing the opposite, e.g., dishonesty and killing. To be universal would lead to chaos and harm. And lastly, philosopher Immanuel Kant proposed a useful test. Can a value be willed to be universal? Values like honesty and love meet this test because they are principles we can wish everyone would follow.
So we have a negative and positive statement, which is do no harm and do good. So in do no harm, do not murder, do not lie, do not steal, do not cheat, do not commit adultery, do not commit incest, do not falsely accuse others, do not do to others what you would not like them do to you. Do not physically or verbally abuse others. Do not destroy the natural environment upon which all life depends. So, in do good, be honest and fair. Be generous. Be kind to strangers. Respect all life. Be faithful to your family and friends. Do to others what you would like them do to you. Protect the natural environment upon which all life depends. Take care of your children when they are young. Take care of your parents when they are old. Take care of those who cannot take care of themselves.
Bright morning, everyone. Today I will give a report on the Ifugao of the Philippines. The Ifugao are indigenous people of the Cordillera region of northern Luzon. They are famous for their culture, traditions, and of course, their amazing rice terraces, which are often called the eighth wonder of the world. These terraces demonstrate not only their farming abilities, but their balance with nature and community. The Ifugao people can be found mostly in the Cordillera region of northern Luzon, more precisely Ifugao province. The more famous towns are Banawe, Kiangan, and Lagawe. This province is mountainous, and that is the reason The rice terraces are constructed on the sides of the mountains. The region has a cold breeze which pleases the farmers and the people close to their culture.
Next topic is the history of the rice terraces. First is the ancient beginnings over 2,000 years ago. The rice terraces were built by the Ifugao people in the Cordillera Mountains of northern Luzon. They carved the mountains using only simple hand tools and stones, showing advanced engineering skills even without modern technology. Second is the purpose. The terraces were made to grow rice in a mountainous region where flat land was scarce. They created an irrigation system but channels water from mountain streams into the fields, a technique still used today. And third is the cultural importance. The terraces are not just for farming, but are part of the Ifagao's spiritual and cultural identity. Rice is considered sacred, and farming is linked with rituals, chants, and tradition passed down for generations. Spanish colonial period. The Ifugao resisted Spanish colonizations and preserved their culture. Unlike lowland Filipinos, who were heavily influenced by Spain, the Ifugao retained their traditions, including rice terrace farming. And 5. Modern recognitions. In 1995, UNESCO declared the Ifugao rice terraces as a World Heritage Sites, calling them the eighth wonder of the world. They symbolize harmony between humans and nature and stand as proof of the Ifugao people's ingenuity and resilience. And 6. Lastly, challenges today: migrations, modernizations, and climate change threaten the terraces. Preservation efforts are ongoing to protect this cultural treasure for future generations. In short, the rice terraces in 2,000-year-old hand-carved farmland built by the Ifugao people, showing their wisdom, engineering, and deep respect for nature.
I'm here to talk about the rice terraces that built more than 2,000 years ago and declared a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Called the eighth wonder of the world, symbol of harmony between humans and nature. So here's the summary of the location and history. The Banawi rice terraces are a system of irrigated rice terraces in the mountains of North Central Luzon, Philippines, created over 2,000 years ago by the Ifugao people. So the UNESCO World Heritage Site is various sections of Ther- the terraces were designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1995. So the eighth wonder of the world, they are often referred to as the eighth wonder of the world due to their impressive scale and construction. So the symbolism, the terraces symbolize the harmony between human and nature, showcasing a sustainable use of natural resources and strong community effort. So, last is the importance and legacy. So next is the importance and legacy. The Ifugao preserve Filipino identity and cultural heritage. The rice terraces symbolize resilience, creativity, and unity. Protecting their culture ensures that history and traditions remain alive for future generations. So, the Ifugao people play an important role in preserving the Filipino identity and cultural heritage through the rice terraces, which are often called the eighth wonder of the world. These terraces are not only a way of farming but also symbolize of the Ifugao resilience, creativity, and unity. So also, they show how people were able to work together with nature, carving mountains into fertile steppes of rice planting. So, protecting this culture is very important because it means keeping history alive. The rice terraces a reminder of the hard work and wisdom of our ancestors, and by valuing and preserving them, future generation can continue to learn from and be proud of their heritage.
I'm talking about the traditions and culture about the rice terraces. So, the rice terraces, especially the world famous Ifugao rice terraces in the Philippines, are more than just breathtaking landscape. They represent a deep connections between people, culture, traditions, and nature. And here's an overview of the culture and traditions. So, the culture of the rice terraces. First is the heritage of the Ifugao people. The terraces were built over 2,000 years ago by the Ifugao, an indigenous group in the Caldera region. They are passed down through generations, symbolizing unity, cooperation, and respect for the land. Second is the sustainable farming. The Ifugao practice traditions farming methods using wooden tools, irrigation systems from mountain streams, and natural fertilizers. And third is the community spirits, which is bayanihan. Building, planting, and harvesting rice involve community effort. Everyone works together, strengthening bonds and ensuring survival. And now, the traditions connecting to the rice terraces. First is rituals and ceremonies. Rituals are performed before planting and harvesting to ask guidance from their gods and ancestors. Animal sacrifices like chickens or pigs and prayers are offered to bring good harvest. Second is a hood chants. Long epic chants sung by Ifugao women during planting, harvesting, and funeral rituals, recognized by UNESCO as part of the masterpieces of the oral and intangible heritage of humanity. Third is the rice as sacred. Rice is not just food, but a gift from the god. Every grain is respected, and wasting rice is considered disrespectful. Four is the traditional houses. Near the terraces, you found Ifugao huts made of woods and thatched roof and raised on stilts. These houses show the harmony of architecture with nature. And lastly is the festivals. Celebrations like the Gutad at Ifugao highlights dances, music, and rituals that honor rice and their ancestors. In short, the rice terraces are not only a stunning wonder but also a living cultural heritage. They show how the Ifugao people's traditions, belief, and way of life are tied to rice farming, community, and respect of nature.
Okay, let's proceed to our next topic. We have the Negritos. So, have you all familiar with the Negritos? So, the Negritos are among the earliest inhabitants of the Philippines. They are distinct from the Malay majority, recognized as indigenous people of Southeast Asia, and their culture reflects early human migration in Asia and the Pacific. Negritos as earliest inhabitants, they are recognized as some of the first people to settle in the Philippines, long before the arrival of later groups like the Malays. They are different from the Malay majority of Filipinos, meaning they have their own unique physical characteristics, language, and culture. They are part of the wider indigenous group of Southeast Asia with a history that stretches back thousands of years. Their way of life traditions and survival skills show the roots of early human migration in Asia and the Pacific, highlighting how Asian people spread these regions. Believed to be the original inhabitants of the Philippines, their ancestry dates back tens of thousands of years. Anthropologists suggest they descended from early humans who migrated out of Africa. Some theories link them to Asian groups that traveled through an early human bridge between Africa and Australia. The Negritos are believed to have come from the earliest waves of human migration out of Africa around 40,000 to 50,000 years ago. They traveled through South Asia and eventually reached out Southeast Asia and the Philippines.
because they arrived long before other groups like the Malays and Austronesians. They are considered the earliest inhabitants of the Philippines. In short, the Negritos originated from Africa and migrated to the Philippines thousands of years ago as part of early human migration. So, Malay refers to a group of people originally from Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei. They have their own culture and language, and many of them arrived in the Philippines in early times. Austronesian, a much larger group of people who came from Taiwan and spread to the Pacific Islands, Madagascar, and Southeast Asia, including the Philippines. Their languages are called Austronesian language, which include Hiligaynon, Tagalog, Cebuano, and many others. The word negrito comes from the Spanish language. It is the diminutive form of negro, meaning black. So negrito literally means little black person, referring to their dark skin and small stature as observed by the Spanish colonizer. In short, negrito came from the Spanish word negro, meaning black. So the negritos connect to ethics through respect for human dignity, preservation of culture, fairness, justice for indigenous people.
The Negritos are various ethnic groups in Southeast Asia and the Andaman Islands who share certain physical characteristics such as short stature, dark skin, and tightly curled hair. Despite these similarities, they are not a single ethnic or cultural group, and they speak various languages and have distinct cultures who are believed to be descendants of the earliest modern humans to migrate out of the Africa over 50 years ago. Negrito populations have distinct languages and cultures, often speaking Autoristic or Austronesian languages, and many maintain hunter-gatherer or semi-nomadic lifestyle with deep ecological knowledge and anime spiritual beliefs. Culture and language. Traditionally hunter-gatherers relying on forests and rivers. Some groups adopted neighboring languages such as Malay and Chinese, known for rich oral traditions, music, and dance. Their lifestyle reflects a deep connection with nature. So, despite being spread across different regions, they share common cultural traits rooted in their ancestral way of life. Traditionally, Negrito groups are hunter-gatherers who rely on forest resources for food, medicine, and shelter. They live in small, close-knit groups that emphasize equality, cooperation, and communal decision-making. So, since ang mga Negritos is they live in far away from the city or star sila sa bukid rather. So, ang ilahang source of income is sa bukid lagid sila ang ilahang mga trabaho or ang ilahang food is kuan ra pud sa kanang gikan ra pud silang mga uma or sa ilang farm. Tas ang ilahang kanang medicine is wala sila gakuan sa doktor ga pa check up or anything, ga rely ra sila sa kanang mga dahon. So in terms of spiritual beliefs are largely animistic with a strong reverence for nature and ancestral spirits, often expressed through rituals involving music, dance, and oral storytelling. Their material culture is simple but adapted to forest life, using bamboo, rattan, and other natural materials to craft tools, shelters, and ornaments. And in terms of language, there is no Negrito language. Instead, Negrito groups typically speak the dominant languages of neighboring ethnic populations such as Austronesian languages in the Philippines, Aslayan or Austroasiatic languages in Malaysia, and Ongan languages in the Andaman Island. However, their dialects often contain unique features and vocabulary that may trace back to much older, now extinct languages, suggesting a long independent linguistic history. Culture and language. Traditionally hunter-gatherers relying on forests and rivers. Some groups adopted neighboring languages such as Malay and Chinese, known for rich oral traditions, music, and dance. Their lifestyle reflects a deep connection with nature. So, despite being spread across different regions, they share common cultural traits rooted in their ancestral way of life. Traditionally, Negrito groups are hunter-gatherers who rely on forest resources for food, medicine, and shelter. They live in small, close-knit groups that emphasize equality, cooperation, and communal decision-making. So, since ang mga Negritos is they live in far away from the city or ga-star sila sa bukid rather. So ang ilahang source of income is sa bukid ra gid sila ang ilahang mga trabaho or ang ilahang food is kuan ra pud sa kanang gikan ra pud sa ilang mga uma or sa ilang farm. Tas ang ilahang kanang medicine is wala sila gakuan sa doktor ga pa check up or anything, ga rely ra sila sa kanang mga dahon. So in terms of spiritual beliefs are largely animistic with a strong reverence for nature and ancestral spirits, often expressed through rituals involving music, dance, and oral storytelling. Their material culture is simple but adapted to forest life, using bamboo, rattan, and other natural materials to craft tools, shelters, and ornaments. And in terms of language, there is no Negrito language. Instead, Negrito groups typically speak the dominant languages of neighboring ethnic populations such as Austronesian languages in the Philippines, Aslayan or Austroasiatic languages in Malaysia, and Ongan languages in the Andaman Island. However, their dialects often contain unique features and vocabulary that may trace back to much older, now extinct languages, suggesting a long independent linguistic history.
So next, we have the significance of the Negritos. First, we have the first settler in the Philippines. Yes, ang mga Negrito ay dakong kipakinabang not only in the Philippines but kundi sa buong Asia Pacific. Una, kay sila ang pinakaunang grupo na ninirahan dito. That's why very important kay sila sa history sa Philippines. Next, we have the protectors of the natures. The Negritos have deep knowledge of forests, rivers, and mountains. That's why very important po kay sila. Second, we have the protectors of the natures. The Negritos have a deep knowledge of forests, rivers, and mountains. That's why very important po kayo sila kay during that time pinapakita nila kung paano sila makasurvive through hunting, fishing, and farming. That's why very important kayo ang mga Negritos dyan. So third, we have the folk knowledge. The Negrito have knowledge of herbal medicine and natural remedies that are still used some communities today. And lastly, we have the culture and tradition. They have their own music, dances, belief, and language that enrich Philippine culture. Their traditional song and dance such as Aita dance contribute to our community. For example, sa mga itin So conclusion, the Negritos are not just an ethnic group but a living link of humanity. Earliest history of Southeast Asia, studying their culture and heritage help us understand Asian human migration, survival, and adoption. They remain an important part of the Philippines' diverse cultural and landscape.
Lastly is the Muslims and Moros in the southern Philippines.
Ethno-linguistics groups. The main Moro ethno-linguistic groups include the Maguindanao, Marano, Tausog, Samal, Bahaw, Yakan, Ilanon, Sanger, Milabugnan, and Hamamapon. Among these three groups, the Maguindanos of the North Cotabato, Cotabato, and Maguindanao provinces, Maranos of the Tolanao provinces, and the Tausog, Hulu from the majority of the Moro population. Each group has its own distinct language and a tradition but shares a common historical and cultural background rooted in Islam. The Moro people are Muslim linguistic groups in the southern Philippines, mainly the Maguindanao, Marano, and Tausog. They speak Malayo or Polynesian languages and are mostly Sunni Muslim, though some still practice animism. Traditional Muslims. Women's clothing has Malay roots, usually featuring a long skirt and long sleeve jacket.
Traditional Muslim attire for women is a mala in Oregon, typically featuring a gathered rug over a sarong, type of ankle-length skirt with a long-sleeved jacket. The Moro society traditionally revolved around the Sultan, who acts as both secular and religious leader sanctioned by the Quran. Communal leaders called Dato also played significant roles. Social and political structure. Muslim Filipinos historically were not closely knit or allied groups, they were proud of their separate identities. Which Muslim Filipinos historically were not one united or closely knit group. Instead, they were composed of different ethnic groups who were proud of their own separate identities. This means that while they shared the same religion, they were still valued their distinct and culture and traditions. There were variations in the Islamic orthodoxy among the groups. For example, the Tausug were among the first people to adopt Islam, while Yakan and Bajau people were later Islamites and often criticized for being less jealous in observing Islamic tenets. There were also variations in how this group practiced Islam. For example, which the Tausug were among the earliest group to adopt Islam and were seen as strong followers of the faith. Meanwhile, other groups such as the Yakan and Bajau adopted Islam later and sometimes they were criticized for the being less strict in following Islamic feelings. Social and political structure. Muslim Filipinos historically were not closely knit or allied groups, they were proud of their separate identities. Which Muslim Filipinos historically were not one united or closely knit group. Instead, they were composed of different ethnic groups who were proud of their own separate identities. This means that while they shared the same religion, they were still valued their distinct and culture and traditions. There were variations in the Islamic orthodoxy among the groups. For example, the Tausug were among the first people to adopt Islam, while Yakan and Bajau people were later Islamites and often criticized for being less jealous in observing Islamic tenets. There were also variations in how this group practiced Islam. For example, which the Tausug were among the earliest group to adopt Islam and were seen as strong followers of the faith. Meanwhile, other groups such as the Yakan and Bajau adopted Islam later and sometimes they were criticized for the being less strict in following Islamic feelings.
Historical challenges and modern context. The history of the Moors is marked by centuries of resistance to colonization and outside influence. From the Spanish and American periods to modern day governance challenges, internal differences among Moors persisted into the 1980s, but these were outweighed by shared experience and struggle for autonomy and recognition. Historically, Moors faced under control by Spanish, American, and later Philippine government. The Moro people resisted Spanish and subsequent colonial powers, leading to the long history of struggle for self-determination and autonomy from the Philippine government. Autonomy means self-governing and independent. In recent times, Moro people has become a unifying concept, symbolizing pride and a collective identity for these communities. The pursuit of greater autonomy and political rights lead to the creation of the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, BARMM. That's all.
So, our conclusion is the Moros of the southern Philippines represent a rich tapestry of culture, language, and faith that continues to shape the country's history and future. While challenges remain, ongoing dialogue and cultural understanding are key to building a more harmonious society. That's all. Thank you and mabuhay everyone.